You're sheltering enemies of the state, are you not? You're sheltering them underneath your floorboards, aren't you? Point out to me the areas where they're hiding. Since I haven't heard any disturbance, I assume while they're listening, they don't speak English.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. In a historic miscalculation, a bunch of low testosterone beta males decided to unite with a bunch of angry, raging, childless, overweight liberal cat women and criminal aliens and fight President Trump in Los Angeles by attacking federal police forces and enforcement officers. How did that end for them as they decided to fly Mexican flags in the street during their lawlessness? Well, I asked AI actually to give me a little summary of what happened during the LA riots, and it came up with this, and well, I think it's quite beautiful. President Trump, who of course had his administration undone by left-wing Marxist riots during the summer of George Floyd terrorism throughout our nation, decided that he's not here for a repeat and that Americans would have his back because left-wing Marxists burn down our city fatigue is at an all-time high. President Trump made a warning to these protesters, saying,
and when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
So what President Trump didn't include in that statement is, you spit, we're going to hit you in the balls.
I shot me in the nuts, and now I'm losing a ball. Surgery is tomorrow.
You know, it really makes you wonder in this situation with the painted fingernails and all, if there were any balls that they were aiming for. I hear you have to turn in your balls if you show up at one of these protests as a man, but that's just me. It's beyond my pay grade, so I don't really know. What I do know is that President Trump's "you spit, we hit" promise was in fact a promise that he's looking at keeping. Like, for instance, this kindly green-sweatered man on an electric scooter who was throwing rocks and bricks at cops. He ended up getting a early edition of Madden 2025 here, where police officers body him and drag him off. This was even happening with kindly citizens who decided they had had enough of this, even in woke leftist Los Angeles. Here's a cultural enricher who throws a bottle at the police right in their faces and gets some sweet vigilante justice here. Man, just textbook. Whew. You could watch it all day, and we have actually watched it all day. Here's a special situation. The no spit, we hit, even if you're on stilts. Look at this one. Here's the individual on stilts. They get brought down and deported in their own special way. Anyway, the point is that they weren't effing around with this one. And they're going to make sure that there's not George Floyd 2.0, that doesn't happen. And it's a wonderful thing to see. They're now releasing, because they have quelled the violence in LA, the Trump administration is now releasing taunting videos, daring any other city to try what they tried in Los Angeles, like this. Who's going to run this town tonight, right? Yeah. Another taunting video from DHS here. Yeah, very good. Very good, DHS. Yeah, we're going to run this town tonight, is the threat from the Trump administration. We are going to run this town tonight. We're not going to let this spread to dozens of cities and overwhelm law enforcement. And it doesn't matter where you are, whether it's Seattle. We all remember Chaz, Chop, remember that? We all remember what happened in Portland, where there was sustained attacks on federal agents for months. In fact, all of 2020. 2019 into 2020, there were months of sustained attacks. There were hundreds of federal agents that were injured horribly in these attacks. These were literal militant attacks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they tried it again and ain't working out. Portland anti-ICE riot crushed. Crushed when you win the Portland F around and find out contest. I don't know. Maybe it's the drugs. Maybe it's the weather. I'm not sure. Portland is just an absolute cesspool of weird, limp-wristed, beta cuck activism and Antifa. I don't know, man. And they just got completely destroyed this time. They weren't going to let them get a foothold. And it's a beautiful thing to see. Enjoy.
Chaos in Portland, Oregon this week. Hundreds of anti-ICE rioters flooded the streets there, many of them trying to break into an ICE office. Federal agents used rubber bullets, tear gas, and flashbangs to shut down that massive mob. It's part of a wave of protests and riots against ICE across the country. Last night, President Trump scored a major victory on his action to quell the anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles. A federal appeals court ruled unanimously that the president can keep control of the National Guard troops he deployed to the city. Trump posted, "The judges obviously realize that Gavin Newsom is incompetent and ill-prepared, but this is much bigger than Gavin. If our cities or people need protection, we are the ones to give it to them should state and local police be unable."
Antifa rioters absolutely owned outside of the Portland ICE facility. The rioters were given warning to leave but refused, so DHS came out in force, firing dispersive munitions and made multiple strong arrests. They even brought in the dogs. Ooh, baby. We'll play you the clip in just a second. FAFO is a fact. Portland was once a great city. They're a laughingstock. So sad. This according to Frontlines, which is an awesome Turning Point product. Exclusive on-the-ground coverage. Happening now. Absolute shock and awe campaign by Homeland Security in Portland. Antifa is getting smoked and crushed outside of the ICE building. Whew, baby. Portland is like a third world country. Watch Antifa militants hit a federal cop in the face with a board. He immediately regrets it. Now you can enjoy prison. Let's go ahead and check this clip out in its entirety here. He decides to hit federal agent. Oh, yeah. There you go. Whew. Terrible. Who would ever want to live like this, right? Who would ever want to live like this? Devolving into chaos and violence. It's terrible. The official Frontline reports, while update, Trump can keep National Guard in L.A. Is he going to deploy the National Guard to Portland? You just can't have the same thing happen in Portland that happened in 2020, where there were these long, sustained riots that were able to really degrade and wear out federal forces. You can't have it. You need to crush this. We're going to crush it right now. Here's the report from Turning Point's Frontlines. I encourage you to follow them right here. It's amazing on the ground. Stay safe out there. Well done. Absolutely demolishing Antifa in Portland. Keep going. Here's the report.
This is the sanctuary state.
If there was ever any doubt, Antifa is the muscle behind Portland's far-left protest scene. And these violent militants showed their clout Wednesday evening by swarming the Immigration and Customs Enforcement building. They're demanding the shutdown of this ICE facility because it's used for processing illegals. But federal agents did not budge.
Anyone to include the threat of trespassing on federal property is subject to arrest.
When a caravan of cars needed to leave the building, Homeland Security officers unleashed flashbangs, smoke, and a hail of non-lethal blast balls to disperse the crowd. This shock and awe campaign drove back the domestic terrorists, and it led to several arrests, effectively ending their evening. After the dust settled,
why are you doing that?
Oregon City resident Brandon Geyer showed up outside the ICE building and volunteered his time Thursday morning.
Antifa militants still hanging around out here,
removing some of these offensive stickers.
Very hateful things.
But some far-left activists didn't like that.
I mean, they're all threatening to attack me.
And started getting in his face.
How did they let people get the euro?
This man calls himself Gent and is a regular at Antifa direct actions.
There's no such thing as an immigrant on stolen land.
He says this is just the beginning.
They're breaking up families.
Of a very long summer of demonstrations, or until their mission is accomplished.
Until ICE is out, period. For however long that is.